What if the most powerful medicine in the world didn't come from a laboratory, but from your own kitchen? We spend lifetimes searching for complex solutions, yet some of the greatest answers to human health have been quietly growing in the soil for centuries. Turmeric, ginger, cloves, cucumber. Each one small and familiar, yet within each lies a code of survival, a formula written by nature itself. And the question I want to ask you today is this: are we wise enough to listen to what nature has already been trying to tell us? I want you to imagine for a moment that your body is not merely a vessel to be tolerated or occasionally pampered, but rather a living laboratory of nature's design, constantly at work, adjusting, repairing, regenerating. In that laboratory there are countless tools available to us, some engineered in laboratories, others offered freely from the earth. And today I wish to point your attention to the latter. Those tools of nature, often modest, often overlooked, yet deeply potent. Because the first key idea I want us to explore is this: nature as the first laboratory. When we think of health, too often we imagine machines, drugs, interventions, devices. And yes, these have their place. But we must also remember that long before any pill or patented compound, there existed a dialogue between humans and plants, between our physiology and the green world around us. In that original laboratory, roots and herbs, spices and vegetables, conducted experiments of survival, resilience, adaptation. To ignore that laboratory is to ignore a rich legacy of biological intelligence. Take a spice like turmeric or a root like ginger. They are not mere culinary flourishes. They are entries in the ledger of nature's experiments. They address inflammation, help regulate processes, support immune function. When you understand that, you begin to see this is not optional food styling. This is biology in action. And when you choose to include them in your life, you become a participant in that experiment rather than a passive subject. Now apply this to the daily choices you make. A pinch of ginger in your tea, a slice of cucumber on your plate, a handful of cloves. These are not grand gestures, they are humble ones. But the cumulative effect is profound, because the human body does not respond only to dramatic fixes. It responds to consistent settings, to an environment of support. So when we treat our diet as our laboratory bench, and these natural ingredients as our regents, we shift the narrative from treating illness to supporting life. Our responsibility becomes not only to cure, but to sustain. And what is the human implication of that? It means that health is not simply something that happens to you. It is something you join. It is a collaboration between your choices and nature's capacity. And the more you recognize that your kitchen, your plate, your habits are part of this collaboration, the more empowered you become. Because empowerment is not in waiting for the miracle. It is in making the steady, intelligent decision. It is in saying, I will give my body the environment it needs to flourish. I will make consistent, modest choices. I will trust the intelligence embedded in nature. Finally, there is hope here. Because if the first laboratory is nature, then access is universal. You need not wait for high-cost interventions or distant innovations. You can begin now. These 4 ingredients, turmeric, ginger, cloves, cucumber, are not just curiosities. They are tangible tools. And if you treat them with respect, integrate them with purpose, You are not only nourishing yourself, you are preserving the astonishing design of the human organism, the living laboratory that we all inhabit. This is not trendy, it is not simplistic, it is foundational. As in all great science and all great practice, the simplest truths often carry the deepest power. Nature gave us its first laboratory. We now invite it into our daily lives. And in doing so, we reclaim health not as a destination, but as a continuous act of responsibility, discovery, and hope. Let us now move from understanding nature's laboratory to something more immediate, the daily act of integration, because knowledge, no matter how profound, is powerless unless it is lived. The second great idea is this: the integration of simple, powerful choices into our ordinary lives. I am not speaking here of grand resolutions or overnight transformations, but of the small, consistent habits that shape the chemistry of our existence. The truth is, our bodies are not waiting for miracles. They are waiting for alignment, a steady rhythm between what we know, what we eat, and how we live. Each day, we are given dozens of opportunities to make a different kind of choice, to replace convenience with consciousness, habit with awareness. The act of adding turmeric to a soup, ginger to a morning drink, a few cloves to warm water, or cucumber to a salad. These are not trivial gestures. They are acts of participation. They signify that we are no longer passive consumers of health trends, but active architects of our own well-being. What begins as a single, deliberate act accumulates power through repetition. Consistency is not merely discipline, it is biological truth. The body thrives on patterns, on dependable nourishment, on sustained kindness. Science tells us that many of these ingredients interact directly with our internal systems. Turmeric modulating inflammation, ginger improving circulation and digestion, cloves serving as natural antimicrobials, cucumber maintaining hydration and cleansing. Yet beneath the biochemistry lies something more profound, a philosophy of care. You are telling your body each day, I am listening. You are acknowledging that your health is not separate from your daily environment, that your vitality is built not in hospitals or laboratories, but in kitchens, gardens, and the smallest of daily choices. There is a quiet revolution in realizing that power. For too long, we have separated science from living, believing that health is something to be prescribed rather than practiced. But real progress begins when we take the findings of science and return them to their natural context. Our homes, our meals, our habits. Each of these ingredients is an instrument in a larger symphony of wellness. To integrate them is to restore balance, to remind our systems of the design they were meant to follow. When people ask, where do I begin? My answer is always the same: begin where you are. Begin with what you already have. Begin with one change you can sustain. Health is cumulative. It rewards patience, observation, humility. There is no single cure, no instant fix, but there is a pattern of alignment that yields remarkable results over time. The challenge is not access, but attention. We must learn again to see value in what is simple, to honor the intelligence embedded in natural things. That is how integration becomes transformation, not through force, but through understanding, not through complexity, but through constancy. The power to live well, to feel well, has always been within reach. It is in your choices, your consistency, and your quiet decision to begin. There comes a moment in every pursuit of knowledge and every journey toward health when we must confront a deeper truth, that our well-being is not only a personal matter, but a shared responsibility. This, perhaps, is the most essential realization, that to care for our own body is to contribute to the health of our community, our species, and the world that sustains us. Health, at its highest expression, is not the absence of disease. It is the presence of balance, of awareness, of stewardship. It is a form of hope made tangible through our daily actions. When I speak of responsibility, I do not mean obligation in the narrow sense. I mean the kind of responsibility that arises from understanding that once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. When you recognize that the choices you make each day, what you eat, how you rest, what you consume in thought and in spirit, shape not only your life, but the collective future of humanity, you begin to act differently. You begin to live as though each small act of care has meaning, because it does. Consider the natural ingredients we have discussed: turmeric, ginger, cloves, cucumber. They are simple, yet profound in their implications. They remind us that nature provides both remedy and lesson. Turmeric teaches us to respond to inflammation, not with suppression, but with intelligent regulation. Ginger teaches resilience and warmth, the stirring of life through circulation and movement. Cloves teach precision, that a small thing, when potent, can shift an entire system. And cucumber teaches calm, that cleansing and cooling are as necessary as stimulation and heat. Together they form a model of balance, a harmony of strength and softness, activity and restoration. When we apply these lessons, we do more than improve our digestion or reduce inflammation. We participate in a philosophy of health that extends far beyond the individual. We begin to view our bodies not as isolated machines, but as living ecosystems, interdependent, responsive, intelligent. In that view, health becomes an ethical act. To care for oneself is to reduce the burden on others, to preserve a vitality that can be shared, to honor the miraculous design of life. This is why I call health an act of hope. Hope is not passive. It is not waiting for change to come from outside. It is the courage to act as though change is possible, even before proof arrives. Each time you choose a natural ingredient over a synthetic one, a home prepared meal over a processed substitute, you are expressing that hope. You are declaring that the design of nature, refined through countless generations of adaptation, deserves your trust. So let us redefine responsibility. It is not guilt, it is gratitude in motion. It is the daily practice of aligning our lives with the intelligence that created us. It is knowing that health is not something we own, but something we share. And it begins, as all meaningful change does, with a single conscious act. One that affirms not only life within us, but life all around us. We often believe the future of health depends on the next invention, the next discovery. But perhaps the future depends just as much on remembering what we've forgotten. The quiet intelligence of nature. Every time you add turmeric, ginger, cloves, or cucumber to your day, you are not just feeding your body. You are participating in an ancient experiment that began long before us and continues through us. So the real question isn't, do these ingredients work? The real question is, are you willing to work with them? Because in the end, health isn't something we wait for. It's something we live for.